like a lot of times with experience, and we go on about the number of years and stuff, and you got to be careful because a lot of times, a lot of years just sort of means you're old, right? Like if you haven't, and when people say, I got 30 years or I got 40 years experience, unless you're doing something through those years.
If you spent 30 years and putting out campfires.
Yeah, you're doing
the
same thing over and over. Or you get complacent, or, you lose that drive to get better. Like you really got to, keep pushing. You can't relax or,
Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to Your Forest. I'm Matthew Kristoff. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get lots out of it. When you're done listening, please rate and review, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Any kind of comments I get or any kind of rating on iTunes, it really helps me out. Make sure other people can see it and find it, and we can get get this podcast out there. So today I've brought on Michelle Wigmore. Michelle Wigmore is a lifetime firefighter. She grew up in Ontario. She came out here as a firefighter, and she took a job at the Hinton Training Center, where she was training firefighters for, I think she said, 9 years. And she was actually there when I went through members training, so she trained me through members and through leaders training. It's pretty cool. She's great. I just remember her being very down to earth. She really knew her stuff, and she was just great. And I ran into her a while back and asked her to come on and just tell her story, because she has a unique story. She kind of got into the supervisory role. She got into a management role in fire a little bit, and then she decided she wanted to step back from the management role and go back to the front line and actually start fighting fire again, because that's what she fell in love with. And it was just an interesting move. You don't see a lot of people with the wherewithal to know that they don't need the extra money and they just want to do the thing that they love, and that's being on the front line, or use the analogy however you will with whatever industry you're in. But so I wanted to bring her on and talk to her about her strategies as a leader, how she brings a crew together, her career path. It's pretty unique how she she did what she did, and she kind of knew enough about herself to take a step back and do something different. And it was an awesome conversation. I think you guys are going to like it a lot. She's got a lot of unique things to say about leadership and how to bring a group together and make them think as a team. So that was pretty cool as well. I think you guys will love it. So as far as sponsors are concerned, Greenland Forestry and Damaged Timber. Damaged Timber is an apparel company out of Edmonton here, and they give back to the environmental sciences community by giving how much is it? I can't remember. But they give away, I think 10% or 10% of everything they get, they put towards a scholarship for environmental sciences students. And you can support that through just buying their clothes. They've got awesome hats, awesome toques, t-shirts, hoodies, all kinds of cool stuff. Definitely check them out. They're awesome. Put in Your Forest 10 at checkout and you get 10% off. So if you want to support environmental sciences, you can do it that way. Also, listen to this podcast. Keep on listening. All right. So without any further messing around, here's Michelle and I. So you've been fighting fire for how long now?
I just finished my 25th season.
25th season. That's awesome. Your background, you grew up in Ontario, right?
Yeah, I'm from London, which isn't a firefighting place.
Yeah, I was going to say, so how did you go from London, like you're almost in the States, to you're like a metropolitan area, to getting into like forestry and this kind of stuff? How did that?
It's kind of different than, like, I know what you've said, your parents and everybody was into it. So
I was immersed into it since I was born.
See, I was the opposite. I managed to go through my whole childhood, teenage years, young adult, without ever really knowing that forest fires were a thing, right? Like, just never heard of them. I don't remember anything. But My best friend from high school went to college at Sir Sanford Fleming, which is kind of like Ontario's Nate, I guess.
Okay. Yep.
And I was just up visiting her. And she had friends at a Red Lake that fought fire.
I have family in Red Lake.
Yeah. So, they were just talking about how this job, and I'm like, what's this? Like, and then just through talking with them.
That's how you got into it. So was she, so did you, and you went there as well, right? You went to Fleming?
Yeah, I ended up going there.
And that's
later,
a forestry tech school, or is okay. So you got your.
I didn't get forestry tech. I got integrated resource management. So you kind of take the core forestry and some fish and with a bit of everything. Kinda.
Okay. That's a diploma.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's sweet. I've never even. There's so many different ways to word that, like, diploma and degree, right? Like I've been talking about, like, even the University of Alberta here, they're bachelors in forestry. I always said it should be a bachelor's in, like, I don't know, resource management or like land management or environmental management or something different, right? Because forestry, people hear the word forestry, it's almost like a bad word sometimes, right? They hear, like, it's weird, but yeah, that's awesome. So from there you started firefighting in Ontario then? Yeah.
So after I found out this job existed, I kind of became like pretty excited, pretty pumped, pretty obsessed about it. And I just applied everywhere. Like I kept bugging them. And it was a bit different then than now, because now, I think you get a lot more applicants and it's a lot harder to get in and you got to pay for your training. And none of that was like that when I went through.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I just kept bugging them. And then Geraldton, actually, they called me from there.
Where is this?
Geraldton, Ontario.
Geraldton, Ontario.
You've never heard of this?
No, I don't think so. No.
It's just this tiny little town, sort of 3 hours northeast of Thunder Bay.
Okay.
About 2,000 people, half native, I'd say, the population.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so, I'd never heard of it either, but.
Yeah. That's got to be like a cool landscape to fight fire in, like those. Kind of the rocky black spruce and like lots of lakes and small trees.
I'd say part of our district was really nice. The Canadian Shields, Terrace Bay area, that kind of north shore of Lake Superior was really nice. And most of our area was swamp.
Okay.
You're just wet all the time. It's just like northern Alberta or northern BC. It's all the same.
So it's not that like lake potted kind of.
There's lots of lakes, but they're swampy, loon shit, I guess you call them. Like, it wasn't. Yeah, it was just swamp, and you wonder how fire burns so well in swamps. Yeah, but it sure does.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Hey, just like it just flies along that.
Yeah, whatever's above the water.
Yeah, yeah. That is a weird thing. Hey, when you like go through like a muskeg burn or whatever, and you get like just that top like half centimeter of moss is burnt, and then it's just wet underneath. Right. So it's what makes sense. I guess like when you think about the like how old some of those like peatlands are. Yeah. Right. That they like they don't really burn. They're totally soaking wet, but the top little piece does.
Yeah. Anything sticking up burns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. So how long were you in Ontario for fighting fire?
11 years.
Okay. So you were there for a while.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So I did 7 years on a heli-tac crew, like a 4-person crew.
4-person crew, jump in the helicopter, initial attack.
Yeah. It was a little bit different there than Alberta. So you're 4-person, you're generally on a medium, so the bigger helicopters.
Okay.
And you would carry a lot of gear and overnight stuff. And sometimes it was busy. You take a 3-day food cooler. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
2 or 3 days.
I guess, with a medium and 4 people, you've got what? Yeah. Like you got like an extra 1,000 pounds of payload potential there or something, right? Like you got lots of options.
You got over 2,000 at least.
Yeah.
And so you're having, a Mark III, 7 or 8 bags of hose, depending on how heavy your crew is. All your hand tools, but they leave you out there too, right? So you do the IA and then you stay on the fire. So there's a sustained action sort of component.
Even if it's just like a half a hectare.
If you get it out, they'll bring you back.
But you just stay there till it's out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, unless they really need you back for IA, but they have a lot more of those IA crews because they use them for sustained action as well.
Gotcha. So that's a cool way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big difference there, and then you're camping out. Like
that's the fun part, right? That's the part. that like, I think I only ever got to overnight. I think 3 different times, and I think all 3 times it was like let's overnight. Like we didn't have to, but we wanted to. And it made sense at the time. But yeah, you see the like pictures of people camping out in like the Shield kind of area. That's like, it's a cool place to like camp out and fight fire. Like that would be probably some awesome memories from that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's some, well, what do you like type 2 fun kind of, what you call like, it wasn't fun at the time, but looking back, it was pretty, you're in a swamp and you're trying to find something above the water to pitch your tent, and then you're there for 9 days and your tent's slowly sinking.
Covered in mosquitoes and black flies. Yeah.
But overall, no, it was a lot of fun. Really good. Yeah.
I can't remember where I first heard that. I think it was from Steven Ranella, the like Meat Eater show, and he's talking about. He said something. He's like, there's two types of fun. He's like, there's the fun that you have on like a roller coaster where it's like it's fun at the time, and then there's the type of fun that's like the stuff you talk about, the stories you tell later, which you often don't even realize it's fun at the time, but it makes a good memory, right? And it's like it's a good way to put it, I guess. I never talked about like, remember when we were on that roller coaster? Man, that was rad. Like that was But yeah, that's the kind of stuff. It's like firefighting for sure. It brings that out of people, right? Like you have to be the type of person that like you I don't know, you enjoy that like suffering part of it for some reason, but kind of, you know what I mean? It's a little bit, I don't know. It's weird. It's I love it though. It's something about going through like a difficult experience, but like with good people and just kind of accomplishing a task through that diversity. It's like, it requires a strong mind though, for sure.
Yeah, and you're just, you're soaking wet and you're getting chewed on by bugs and you got to camp there and it's so ridiculously bad that it's kind of funny. Yeah. And you can somehow enjoy it some weird way.
Yeah, and the food you have is never good food. It's just like MREs and like peanut butter or something, right? It's never,
Yeah, the job's a pretty good mix of, half the time you're like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. This is so much fun. And then other times it's like, you can't pay me enough to do this. Why am I here?
Oh, no, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because you spend, it's that hurry up and wait aspect, right? Like you spend so much time just like waiting for a fire to happen. And then when the fire does happen, you don't have enough time because there's always a bunch of them that start at the same time. And you're jumping around and trying to keep, But it is totally that for sure. It takes do you think it takes a certain type of person to be able to like sustain that job for a long time?
I guess, just,
I don't think it's for everybody. Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think some people are shocked when they see what it's actually all about. Like, you wonder what they were thinking it would be like before they got into it. Like, but, it's kind of a surprise, I guess.
For sure. Cause it is hard work. Like you hear, like some of the stories you hear from people, they talk about like how they get paid to sit at a shack and play video games or read a book or whatever while they're on or 5-minute getaway. But then they don't tell you about the part where you're like, you're working harder than you've ever worked in your entire life and you're sweating and it's hot. And it's because when you're fighting a fire, it's like, it's not like it's 12 degrees outside, nice and cool. And you're sweltering, right? Yeah. It's just, it takes, I guess that's kind of the point I was trying to make is it takes a certain type of mind to be able to thrive in that situation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I find I think the people that would make kind of like the best hunters would also make the best firefighters. They enjoy, for whatever reason, there's kind of that, they enjoy suffering a little bit. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a physical challenge, I guess, that part. You're combining sports and suffering, I guess, together in one fun time. Yeah.
I love it though, because it's just, I don't know, it's just something about the mental fortitude it takes to get through that kind of stuff and then accomplishing, like when you do finally get it done at the end of the day. Like I remember I had one experience, we were in a medium for some reason. There's only a 4-man crew. I don't know why we were filming some kind of like commercial or something. I don't know how we got in on that, but we had a medium for the day. We actually got a call. We went to a fire, and again, it was like 30 degrees outside. Worked all day. We're sweating. We're tired. We like hungry. Everything right. And we get back in at the end of the day, and there's all this room, so we're all kind of just lounging in the back of this medium, right? Like just laid up on some hose bags and kind of just chilling out. And then like the sun's going down and you have this like beautiful landscape. You're up in the air in this helicopter, and then like the sound of the rotor, and just like everything. You're sitting there looking out the window and you go, yeah, that's why I got into this. It's just there's something so euphoric about that situation. I remember that exact moment all the time.
Oh, wow.
Because that's how I remember that firefighting experience. Is it's like it's hard work, and then you just get these crazy viewpoints or crazy rewards when it comes to like things you get to see, right?
And, for sure.
No, it's awesome. So when did you did 11 years in Ontario and then came over to Alberta. So how did that switch happen?
I wasn't really looking to change from Ontario because I really did like it there and we were really busy. Mm-hmm. But I've been living in small northern towns for a while. Mm-hmm. And one day, one of the sort of older guys in our office came into my office and threw a job ad for Hinton Training Center, a training specialist. And he said, if I was 10 years younger, I'd already be there. He said, and then he left, And then I started looking at it, and I'm like, that's sounds kind of interesting. And at the time, a guy that I worked with in Ontario, Scott Elliott, he's still at the...
I know Scott, yeah.
Yeah, he's still at the Hinton Training Center. He was over there, so I just talked to him and just to find out what it was like, and he said it was a pretty good gig, so...
Oh, yeah, HTC is an awesome spot, yeah.
Yeah, like you do all the training, but in the summer you're freed up to go out and fight fire, and that's mainly what I wanted, so the training part was good, and then the fighting fire, so yeah, I bid on that and actually didn't get it.
Oh, no.
No, but the guy who did get it ended up turning it down, so
you got the second.
So I wheezed up. Yeah, definitely, I wasn't their first choice.
I don't know. I find that a lot of times the first choice is just a good talker. They're not necessarily, the best choice.
Yeah, that's what I tell myself.
Well, you turned out pretty good at the end. Obviously, you were there for a long time.
Yeah, I was there for 9 years.
9 years. Yeah, yeah. But you were there. So so that was the position you were training. New recruits and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a lot more training. Like the ones that I kind of, spent the most time doing was the crew member, crew leader training and the fire tac. And that. But we did also do, like in the winter, there's a safety officer, the plans, or, that kind of course that's more for the full-time people. So,
okay. So you were still fighting, but when you say you were fighting fire during that time, because you went from Ontario being on a crew actually on the Fireline, right? And then when you got into doing the the training side of it, you were more like overhead. Incident commander, you're overhead.
Yeah, like in Ontario too, I did go full time the last 4 years, were tech position, and then I was acting in a kind of the equivalent of a wildfire operations officer, but there it was a management position, and so I kind of did that for a couple of years. So doing those overhead positions on a fire where you're sort of
managing where everything is and logistics and stuff.
Yeah, more crews and all that. So I kind of continued on with that once I got to Alberta.
Gotcha. Okay. So you kind of were getting away from the Fireline, not as much of the, quote unquote action.
Yeah, more, the
glory
in a
of
helicopter flying around lots, and then, every time you can sneak on the ground and see what's going on. Yeah, but it was few and far between for sure.
No, for sure. Well, I do remember when I was doing, I do remember being on a few campaign fires with you though. And you checking in on us. Yeah, no, I totally do.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was, I remember you being I have to say you did a really good job at the training center, at least from my experience. I found you to be one of the most approachable. Because I don't know, you had an air of I don't know, the strong silent type for whatever reason. Right?
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable in those, I don't know.
Yeah.
The fight and fire part on the ground. And I really liked it.
Oh yeah.
I love the job. I remember saying to my supervisor once when I was in Red Lake, I'm like, people say they like this job, but I don't think they mean it like I mean it. I really like this job. It's a great,
I think you're probably
everything
right.
about it, all the bad parts, all the good parts.
I still to this day say it was the most fun I ever had.
Yeah.
In any job.
Lots of people say, and then once you get out of it, it's not quite the same.
No, you forget. I forget. I work in an office now.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I was watching the video you told me to watch on your Facebook, the crew video, and I was like, "Damn, I miss fire."
You just want to be back, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly.
The first 2 years I was here, I came right from Helitac, and then I traveled for a month and a half, and then I was here. Yeah. And I just remember the next 2 summers, I was just staring longingly up at the sky and I'd see helicopters go over. It was tough, it was weird. I almost convinced Derek to put in like when hazards real high to put in like a emergency crew, because like we're all foresters here, right? So but it never ended up happening. But yeah, no, it's an amazing job, and I tell everybody like it's just an awesome way to get involved in like and in forestry work in general, right? Like you get to see some crazy stuff. Like even growing up in Slave Lake, obviously I knew about wildfires because like Slave Lake is constantly being threatened by wildfires.
Not unlike London, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And like, so I knew about them, but for whatever reason, I still didn't remember ever like seeing a burnt stand or something. Right. Like I remember up until I think like Chisholm happened in 2001. And then I remember seeing everything burnt out and I kind of got familiar with it. But even me being like inundated in that world, I never really came across wildfires that often. Whereas like, so I could see how like it's not a world that many people even know exists really, right?
Yeah, even when you're right in it, because most of the time we're away from people, right? We're off in the bush and you only see us when we're not working. Basically, when we're actually working, it's, you know, we're not near the public a whole lot.
Yeah, well, and that was a weird part. I remember being in BC on export one time, and it was during the Burns Lake fire in 2011 or 10 or whatever that was, and it was like we were in this big soccer field. There was like a couple, I don't know, there was a few hundred of us, right?
Yeah,
and we were there for like 4 days waiting to get in because just the logistics, I guess the fire had died down and it all got messed up, but you felt bad because there's all these people around going like, what are these firefighters doing? Like our houses are burning down and they're just like hanging out here, and it's like, well, it's not that simple. And it was but like you said, like the public only sees that like the logistics part of it, where like kind of their staging areas and that kind of stuff, and then the actual work, it's like you don't get to see that.
No one sees that. No.
Did you see that show? There was a show on, I think it was the History Channel, and they were following a couple like hack crews, I think.
Oh no,
I didn't see it either, but I heard it was like it did a pretty good job of portraying like the whole
what
activity.
It was like.
Yeah,
oh nice. Yeah,
but I'm sure there was some added drama.
They always like to throw that in.
So you went from 11 years, and you said 9 years at the HTC doing training and that kind of stuff, and you liked that job?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
It was good for a while, and then it was just, you know.
Not had enough of it?
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just they're starting to get unit crews, right? And Grand Prairie had one, and then Rocky had one.
Unit crew being because most crews, just for people that don't know, so there's the 4-man initial attack. Those are the people that are, it's like it's like the ambulance, I guess. So the first one's on scene, and they take care of the initial suppression until a bigger crew can come in, right? And that's it can be an 8-man crew or whatever, and then the unit crew is a 20-man, so mostly sustained action, right? Like not a lot of
except I'd like to sort of you clarify that a bit. Is we don't generally go to the smaller fires that the IA initial attack crews go to, but we are doing initial action on large fires, which isn't explained well, because people always think they're not seeing the action or whatever. When you try to recruit people, they always want
they want to see the glory.
Yeah, they think they're not going to see any flames, but you're on escaped fires.
Yeah,
doing initial action on an escaped fire, so you're seeing some really good.
Oh yeah, well, judging by the video, I watched, it's like this is crazy action, like nonstop crowning and all kinds of good. Yeah, it's a
but it's a 20-person crew, and it was always my dream job, because a couple times in Ontario we had to. It seems the whole country deals in 20 packs, like 20-person, crews going from province to province. And even though Ontario didn't have 20-person crews, if they needed to send a 20-person crew, they'd stick a bunch of their helitac crews together, 4-person crews. That never
works because you always have leadership conundrums.
Kind of,
right?
but twice I got to lead that. Once in Montana and once in BC.
Oh, okay.
And I loved it. Like that was to me, it was like, this is it. This is your firefighting force. Like if you can get those people working together, then like 20 people, when they're working hard, can get a lot of work done. So
I'm sure.
Yeah. So I just saw those sort of unit crews coming up all around me there, and found out we were going to get one out of the Edson area, based out of Hinton. And, yeah, I immediately talked to the one supervisor and said, I want to lead that crew. And he's, really? Cause I'm like, yeah, I want to quit this job and lead the unit crew.
To him, he's thinking it's kind of a demotion because it's like you're going from managerial down to a crew leader or something, right?
Yeah. But he kind of knew me too. So
yeah. But you know what I mean? Like people get into the system and they just think climb the ladder.
Go up.
Right?
Yeah.
Climb the ladder until you're that's the challenges that you should go through.
Yeah.
Whereas, and that's why I wanted to, the main reason I wanted to have you on really is because you really just
backwards.
Well, but it's not even in society's sense, you went backwards, right? But you know yourself and you know what brings you fulfillment and happiness, and you knew.
I have no regrets at all. Like when I decided that's. It was the right decision.
For sure. So up to that point, you just done a couple 20-man crews that just kind of temporarily, nothing of your own.
Yeah, because we didn't coming out of Ontario and even Alberta at the time. Like there wasn't that 20-person
20-man crew is it's 5 years old in Alberta. 6?
Well, 7 now I think because I think we were the third year as Edson got the crew, and that's
gotcha.
Yeah,
it's been a crazy success though, hey? Like people.
Yeah, it's been good. And Harold leads the crew. And there's getting some, a lot of very experienced crew leaders too. So,
well, that was one thing that Harold said when I recorded with him, right? Was one thing that he wished was happening in Canada that wasn't happening in Australia. Or sorry, that was happening in Australia, was not happening in Canada, was that in Australia they have lifelong, firefighting people like yourself, right? That's your careers. You're doing that, and whereas in Alberta, for whatever reason, it tends to be more of a young person's game, right?
The crew system, for sure.
If you get a leader that has 5 years experience, you're like, whoa, you have 5 years experience. Most leaders I think in the province probably have 3 or 4, right? I only did 3 years.
Yeah, and that's sort of the norm, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean it's a weird thing too because I left just out of it was more of the shift work idea wasn't the best for me, but a lot of people love it. I know a lot of people that still flourish in that shift work system, right? And they work around it. It's just a different way of doing it than traditional societal values, right? It's do you ever find did you ever have any problems with the shift work side of that kind of stuff?
No, but I don't have any connections I don't have a family or kids.
Okay.
I have a long-term boyfriend, but nothing that
tying you down
messes that up.
No ball and chain.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of what happens.
For sure.
You
start a family.
Move on with that. And
it requires a little bit more of a stability or whatever. But but it's an amazing job. Yeah. I still, like I said, I still covet the people that are doing that.
Still doing it. Yeah.
So, when you made that switch from, climbing that corporate ladder to kind of go you know what? I don't love this as much as I love actually being on the Fireline. Yeah. What was that like with your peers and stuff like that? Did they kind of think you were crazy or anything or what?
I'd say there's maybe, I think 3 responses.
Yeah.
The one was hey, good for you. That's great. I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All positive. Then there was the negative. So this is what you're going to do now. All frowning and looking at me stern and stuff. So there's that side. And then there was a more thoughtful side where, a couple people brought it up. Oh, it may seem like a good idea now, but what are you going to do when you want to retire? And yeah, no, I don't know. I appreciate that side.
Yeah.
I kind of planned for that. So I kind of knew all along I wasn't going to retire full time in those positions, move on to something. I didn't know what, but
you do it till your body says you can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
and then get some other job, right?
Yeah, that was kind of my plan was not to. So yeah,
you've got an infinite amount of experience, so I don't think you're gonna have a problem getting a job that's a little more cushiony if you don't, if your knees give out on you or something. I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen. But no, it is a good point. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But those were the 3 responses. So.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so do you and you said you don't have any regrets going back like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, no regrets at all. It's all been good. We've just been sort of building the crew. It's been 5 years now, and Last year, all the sub leaders that were on the crew were all original crew members.
Oh, nice.
And so all 5 of them have been with the crew for 5 years. So
That's huge.
Yeah.
The longer you get a crew together, I'm sure the more cohesive and the better work you do.
Oh,
probably,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It just feels like it's easy. Like, they take over so much of the training and all that kind of stuff that and they're way harder on each other than I am. I feel lots of times I see them yelling at their new guys and stuff. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's just an interesting concept, right? Because so many people get caught up in the rat race, and like I would say that I'm probably not outside of that normal societal kind of trajectory, right, with my career. But it's I don't know, it's relieving to see somebody that like what you want, and you're like, no, I don't want to become, the woo or whatever. Like I want to go back to doing the thing that I love doing, and I know that I love doing, and like, why would I step away from that?
Well,
right?
But I did though. And my first year out of the crew system when I was in Ontario was a terrible year for me. And, I didn't want to leave, but they were kind of looking to promote, to full time. And I regretted it then, leaving the crew system, and everyone's like, well, you got to get away from it sometime. You got to move up. And you sort of believe that. And then you sort of, you think about it a bit and you're like, no, I don't got to do that. Like that.
Why? Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's a difference. Like I had a $14 an hour pay cut and some stuff like that was, but I kind of knew, and I don't care. I can make it work. So, it doesn't matter.
I think that's the biggest thing for most people. It's probably not even the job dissatisfaction. It's probably the pay cut.
Oh, yeah.
They get used to that standard of living, right? And then you get a drastic pay cut, and they're like, no, I can't justify that. But especially if you have family, right?
Yeah, pension's gone.
All the benefits,
Benefits, like it's huge that way.
Yeah.
So, not everyone can do it. Depends on your situation. So,
but I'm sure that the firefighting community appreciates someone with your caliber of experience, and like you've seen the upper echelon, like kind of higher level thinking when it comes to fires, so you can anticipate what's going to happen, and I'm sure you have you're probably one of the best assets out there on a fire. I would say much more than a crew with 4 dudes that are 2, 3, and 4 years experience.
It's hard to say like a lot of times with experience, and we go on about the number of years and stuff, and you got to be careful because a lot of times a lot of years just sort of means you're old, right? Like if you haven't, and when people say, I got 30 years or I got 40 years experience, unless you're doing something through those years.
If you spent 30 years in Calgary District putting out campfires.
Yeah, you're doing the same thing over and over. Or you get complacent, or, you lose that drive to get better. Like you really got to, keep pushing. You can't relax or,
Totally. It can't be like you're saying complacency, right? Like people just find well, now it's just a job, and this is just what I do, and this is my everyday, and this is my schedule.
I don't want change,
change.
No better, no worse.
Go home and watch my Netflix, and I want to wake up at 8 and be here, and then go home again.
And all those years of experience aren't really all that positive, right? Yeah. So, and it's funny because I was listening to your podcast on Wastewood with Jim Donaldson. I don't know him, but he said something about trying to sell his great ideas for, recycling waste wood, and it won't cost the company something, it'll make them something even, but he always had to go to the upper management and the higher level supervisors. And he said those were the worst people to go to because they weren't looking for change and stuff like that. So,
exactly.
So they're your most experienced people, and as an example of where experience isn't really necessarily
kind of
helping.
set in their ways, you mean? Like they're not looking for innovation, and because they're kind of like, no, well, we do it this way, and this is the way we do it, and let's just leave it at that. Yeah, that can definitely be a problem for sure.
So like when people tell me experience, a number of years, it doesn't necessarily mean better unless it is better, unless, you're pushing and trying to get better, and how can we do this, and listening to other people's ideas, like younger up and coming people that look at things differently and think of stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Fresh perspectives, right? Yeah, just innovating. No, you're right. It's just that fresh, excited mindset. I think when you spend 35 years in the same position, kind of climbing the corporate ladder, not everybody, but like a lot of people, yeah, you're right. They just become numb to it, right? And it's just a job, and this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and here's the steps, and that's all we do, and just make sure the ball keeps rolling, right? And but yeah, you're right. Like the people that you want are the people that are excited and they want to be there, and they're innovating, and they're trying different stuff, even if it doesn't work, because at least you know now it didn't work, right?
Exactly. They just keep trying and keep pushing, but the only problem is those people annoy the hell out of the people that are kind of coasting, right? They don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, but but also the motivated people like that, the people that are constantly, annoying the upper echelon people or whatever, like they're the ones who will inevitably take over, right? Like because they're the ones who are showing the gumption and the motivation and the the willingness.
In an ideal world, that's what would happen.
Hope.
Yeah. So yeah, like. I got 25 years, but, it doesn't mean much unless you're, constantly trying to improve and improve the system around you. So.
Are you?
I sure try. I like to think I am. I don't know. It'd be interesting to get some of the crew in here to get their opinions on it. But I think as a group, we're trying to, and, it's kind of hard to tell the difference now between what's being pushed through by me or them or whose good ideas.
That's nice, though.
Yeah, like it's sort of combined into one big thing. I don't know.
Well, it's nice when you have people that, because I think some people see a leader as somebody who's you know what I mean? Like, this is the person you go to, like, they know what's going on, they have all the answers, they make all the decisions, right? Whereas I think the best leaders are people who listen to the people around them and they're the person who ultimately, makes the end decision. But they don't have to be the one who comes up with all the ideas.
Yeah, you don't got to come up with all the great ideas. You just got to use them.
You just have to wait them all out.
Yeah.
So I think the best leaders are going to
make them work.
Yeah. Going to have an active crew of people that are telling them what they think and what how they think things will work, and that's how you're going to innovate and become better as a unit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like they have to be thinking and coming up with their own good ideas and or running them by, and we got to work on them together and stuff. So.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing I think like, it's a good point you bring up though for people that are coming up, like not even just in fire, like in any industry, regardless of environmental sciences or whatever, just. You know what I mean? If you think something's stupid or wrong or we can do things better, just like speak up. Don't worry about the hierarchy. Like because like you might get shut down, but it doesn't mean that you're wrong, because that might just be a power move or whatever, right? But yeah, I think it's a good point that people that are coming into an industry to maybe do speak up and try to get your new ideas in there, because like you never know when you might come up with something that saves a bunch of money, a bunch of time, or is a better product or whatever. But
here's another way that experience can be a bad thing.
Here we go.
Well, I mean, if they say, this person's real experienced, they know what they're talking about, I'll just do it their way because, and that, maybe you miss out on a good idea that way.
True.
Like we try to work with our guys where it's like, okay, we come up with a plan. Like we're divided into 5 4-person sub crews.
Oh, okay.
Right? So we have 5 sub leaders and then myself. So they get a section of line and we sort of talk about, okay, how are you going to do this? Mm. But the understanding is that if it's not working, then, or they see something that can be done better, then they just do it, right? Yeah. Like just do it. Tell me about it if I need to know.
Yeah.
And
if it's going to affect me. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the rest of the crew, but that's your section of line. You know it better than anyone.
Yeah.
Don't do something stupid just because we came up with this idea we thought was good. Cause fire, it changes. You come up with an idea and then it changes it and revamps it 85 times before. Oh, for sure. Before it's carried out. So.
Well, and I guess the key to that too is trusting your sub leaders though. So you have to have a sub leader that is not going to try to like domino fall a bunch of trees or something or whatever, right? Like you have to. So I guess that's the point of knowing them and being with them for so long, right? Because you can trust them. And if they have rookies, they can handle it, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that because I guess trust is there, so you
have to fully trust it. But it's a good point though. You can't have. I mean, imagine one person trying to micromanage 20 people. Like it's not good.
You just drive everyone nuts and yourself. And,
No, it's I like that. I like that you took it upon yourself to, you know what I mean, to figure out what you wanted and go, you know what, screw this. I want to run a crew. So you've been running the crew for how long now? For 5 years?
It's been 5 years.
5
yeah.
years. That's
So
awesome.
Be our 6th season coming up.
And you guys are all over the place, eh? You guys getting lots of exports?
Yeah, it's been pretty good that way. We're in BC twice
Oh,
last year, and we've been down to Idaho and Northwest Territories, and lots in Alberta.
Yeah.
Just all over. So
What do you like jumping around from those different, like the states and different provinces and whatever? Did you ever find like different systems that they like way they fought fire or ways they thought about the management system that you wanted to bring back into Alberta to change things up?
Yeah, I really felt that when I was in Ontario that they had a pretty good system there too, and we were quite a bit similar.
Right.
But I think it really helped, at least for my career, to have done the initial attack where you stayed on the fire and did sustained action as well. Like
You're immersed in it. It's not just like a couple hours.
Both sides of it, and then coming to this job, it's where it's sustained action, the majority of it. Then that really helped me, I would say.
Yeah, I could see that. It'd be an interesting way to do it. I just am trying to imagine. I wonder why. Why do you think they did that in Ontario? Just like the 4-man and a medium with lots of gear, and you leave them on the fire. Like what?
I think there's lots of water sources.
Right.
So the idea is that they don't even have a bucket on the helicopter.
Oh, okay.
It's all you set up your Mark III.
Yeah.
Lay out your 1.5 inch, and then you have the CL415s dropping, and you work a lot closer.
Right.
With them, there's no retardant droppers, so it is quite a bit different, and there's parts that are better, parts that are worse, whatever.
Right. Because here, I guess, like just to explain like what you just said, because like here we have the bucket on the bottom of the helicopter, which actually scoops up water and can drop it, and we depend on that a lot.
Yeah.
I find, at least I did when I was doing it, and then we usually have a pump with us, but I mean sometimes you don't have the weight to carry a pump, so sometimes you just have a bucket, a bunch of hand tools, and some Wajax bags, which is like a little water gun, right? And then but yeah, it's just interesting to see. So there they didn't have the helicopter was just transportation. That's all it was.
Yeah,
it wasn't a firefighting tool.
You off and,
okay.
I mean, on larger fires they might bring them out a bit, but generally it's just a taxi ride.
But they still had tankers, you said, though.
Yeah,
CL215s,
just
those are tankers. Yeah. Interesting. So
I guess a couple a couple things, like, so you got the sustained action experience, but then you also were in a situation where you weren't relying on a bucket.
Yeah.
You had to lay out hose very quickly and try to catch it. And you had tankers and stuff, but you weren't sitting back watching a bucket drop.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. There's some amazing pilots out there, though. Like the number of, I think about some of the helicopter pilots that I've had, where I have a video somewhere on one of my old phones. I have a video of, what was it? It was Troy Sloan out of Slave Lake, and he has these black helicopters, black A-Stars, right? And they're just beautiful looking machines. And he comes in, and I had stretched out. There was like a log that was burning, right? We overturned the log, and we wanted him to come in and just kind of string the bucket, or kind of release the bucket in a line along the log, right?
Yeah.
And so I put a ribbon down right on the log so he could see it. And I kid you not, like he literally brought the bucket in. He started releasing right where the ribbon was, and then just kind of moved along. He pinned down the ribbon the entire time, and then released right at the end. And it doesn't sound that crazy for people that don't know what that means, but most of the pilots you get, they're missing by 10 or 12 or 15 feet, right? So for someone to do a moving target that perfectly, it was like, it's amazing to watch some of that skill, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's so cool. No,
that is good.
So where was your favorite place to fight fire anyways? Favorite, like if you going out on export. Personally, I liked, we went to the Yukon for a week.
Oh, okay.
It was just a totally different landscape. Like there you have this, I can't remember how big the buffer is, but there's basically a buffer around all the highways and cities, and that's where you fight fire. If it's outside of that buffer, you just leave it, let it burn, right?
Yeah.
And it was interesting because it was just a totally different landscape, right? You could see dull sheep and grizzly bears and stuff, and like, it was wild.
Yeah, I would say in Alberta it would definitely be like the Wigmore, places in the mountains like that.
Yeah.
But I do, like, we've been to high level quite a bit as a crew, and I love fighting fire in high level. And I think that's because it's sort of like Ontario. It's just
kind of shieldy,
swamp and shields and areas and stuff. So
yeah.
And the other thing, in Northern Ontario, you went to the Northern Reserves a lot. There's a whole bunch of just fly in only.
Oh,
kind of the same thing with the buffer. You had a 16-kilometer radius, and if the fire got within that, then you'd fight that.
Gotcha.
And just being up in those northern communities was very interesting, eh? Like not many people see that, but they're again fly-in only. And
oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in the Yukon, we were in Ross River, which is like, people don't know, if you fly up, if you drive into the Yukon, you drive to the end of the winter road.
Okay.
Or not the end of the summer road is Ross River. So you literally, if the winter road was open in the wintertime, you can drive straight down and get down into like Alberta pretty quickly, right? But if it's not, it's like a 6 or 7 hour drive around, right? So we're basically at the like end of the road in the middle of nowhere in the Yukon, right?
Yeah.
And I dropped off my crew because we had we had a small helicopter or something, right? And I was driving the truck back to a location, and on the way back, I ran into a vehicle that was broken down, right? So I stopped and picked them up because there might not be anybody coming. I was like, "Oh, where are you guys headed?" And they're like 10 kilometers from Ross River, right? I'm like, "Oh, where are you guys headed?" I'm like, "Oh, we're going to Edmonton." I'm like, didn't make it very far. It's like 2,400 kilometers to go, right?
Geez.
But it's just like weird situations like that, right? Where he's just like, then he tells me it's going to be a 3-day turnaround to get a fan belt for his vehicle or whatever, right? Because he's got to go white horse and back and everything. But some of those crazy things are, I remember hearing people talk about fighting fire in Montana, like some of the wild situations down there where like it's so dry that the indices are like maxed out, and
it's kind of meaningless when you have like temperatures 30 and RH is 7 or something.
Or
like,
-7.
I don't even know what that means. It's pretty dry.
When they were talking about crowning aspen, so like for people that don't know, crowning aspen, like so fire getting into the aspen crowns and then moving, but they said it was moving at like 30 meters a minute. And it's just like, what? Like
aspen doesn't even crown usually.
Here, no. We don't even have like, to run into a fire period that moves 30 meters a minute in Alberta is like, I mean, it happens in some of those big ones, but it's like not common.
No.
Then they got crowning aspen, which is like unheard of. It's like, that doesn't even make
it's
sense.
Crazy.
They're just like the
world.
The diversity of like every different, like even just in Alberta, right? We have the 10 different districts, and they all have totally different firefighting strategies, right? You go to like Slave Lake, we loved the floato pump, which is like a little, it's like a, how would you explain it? It's almost like a
it's like a motorboat kind of.
It's like a sump pump almost, right?
Yeah, I guess
it's like, but nobody. You tell somebody in a different district that you use the floato, and they go, "You're stupid" or something. Like, why would you use that? That's dumb. And then, or for example, like Montana or whatever, right? Where they just drive around in trucks and they do Fireline and stuff, right? It's the strategy for the environment is so different, right?
Yeah, it just sort of depends.
Did you guys ever have you guys ever done like a Fireline, like actual like
hand line?
Like hand line, yeah.
Yeah, we've done it a couple times, and both times was aborted, not by us, but it wasn't working.
We just have too much duff, I guess, for that to even really.
Well, we've done that. We did that when we were in the States or in BC. We wouldn't do it here. Okay. We wouldn't do it by choice ever. But sometimes they make you, and you're new there, and you have to do what you're told, so you do that.
Yeah. It's an interesting strategy. I don't remember ever using it except for like when like you guys made us do it in training.
Oh yeah, sorry. It's in the book. We had to.
Yeah. No kidding, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. But it's. Did you ever have any like? I don't know if you want to talk about this part at all, but did you ever have any issues being like a female crew leader? Did you ever have like dudes just being disrespectful because they're whatever?
Well, I think now it's kind of weird because like I'm old, so it's not like I'm like it's sort of I'm different, curious because
you're a veteran now. Nobody sees you as like you're just...
But I feel like when I go out of province or places where people don't know me, like I think I look pretty insignificant.
Well, you're a small
I'm not
person
very big.
Too.
Yeah, so I don't stand out or look like any sort of great firefighter, so
but you're not a loud person either, like you're pretty
I don't no exactly
unless you know somebody's saying something completely stupid and off the rocker, I don't imagine you're gonna speak up.
So my plan has always been when we get to a place, they're gonna test us first. They'll give us some simple little job and then they'll watch how we do it. So my plan has always been when you get that simple, silly job, you do it really, really good and you go overboard and you do that for a few days and then gradually earn their trust.
Yeah.
So, and that's in places where people don't know me. In other places where people know me, then it's a little different. But, so yeah, that's kind of my go-to thing is that's what we do. So,
no, it's, it's interesting to see that you got into it so early and just like,
I feel I've always been treated pretty good by the people around me, the people I work with, and people know me. I feel we've all had a good working relationship.
That's good.
Yeah.
You always wonder in a male-dominated industry, right? Where in the past there's been a lot of, discrimination or even just kind of looking down on or whatever, right? Because I was just wondering from your perspective if you experienced that. I realize now you're not experiencing that probably on a day-to-day.
No, it's different now. Yeah. I think what I felt when I first got into fire, there wasn't not many girls.
Yeah.
And I just felt like you always had to prove yourself. And that's cool. I don't mind doing that. So like, if you're walking over to a pile of equipment, you got to pick up one of the heavier things and then you got to make it back again for a second trip. Or, you're trying to, for me, it was always a competition. Like, I guess I'm pretty competitive that way, but it was always like, okay, they're lifting that. And then I'm doing mental calculations in my head. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that, and that there. And then
well, that was the thing that I found. Like, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Like I talked to, like, for example, my mom or my sister or some people I graduated with, right? And I asked them about like what was there. Cause I never even thought about it. Like women in forestry as like an issue. Because it's just, for me, I grew up with it.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
But then when someone brought it up to me and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I never really thought that. And I even asked like my sister today and it's like, do you find you have to, like you said, prove yourself a little bit more than the male counterparts, right? Just like kind of lift the heavier thing or do the extra work or come in on a Saturday or whatever, right? And she's like, yeah, definitely you have to for sure. Until you prove yourself. Once you've proven yourself, then you're kind of in the clear. But it's unfortunate that that's still there, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm not 100% sure if it's there or if it just anymore, if it just kind of feel like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, like I said, I kind of would probably do that anyways because I kind of like competing all the time. So.
I just want to be the winner at everything. Yeah, it's a good strategy to have if you're going to be a firefighter for your whole life, right? Like you got to be the best.
Exactly. Yeah, so
that's the mentality it takes for sure.
We told you about our fitness program. Have you heard?
Like what do you?
Like we have to have we obviously do the national fitness standard, and then when I was coming back to be on the crew, I was like, okay, I don't want to come back and give up this full-time job to be on a mediocre unit crew. I want to be on a really good unit crew. So I kind of had in my head, we have these fitness standards that we'd all try to work
for
towards.
Your crew specifically.
Yeah, just for our crew.
Because there is the fire, like the wildland firefighting fitness tests. But you have another thing that's like upper echelon than that.
Yeah. Gotcha. So we had 6 standards and someone was running and bench press and pull-ups and stuff like that. So, I sort of had this idea, but then the crew got a hold of it over the years and it's kind of gotten a little out of control. But
so if you can't make the minimum, do you just kick them off or what?
Well, no, you get opportunities for sure, but it's kind of evolved into like there's a big whiteboard in our rec room and everyone's names up there and all the standards. And
that's awesome.
Color coded, so if you make it or if you don't make it, it's different colors. If you're first on the crew,
do you have records?
Oh yeah, records, and then at this point it had to be switched over to an Excel spreadsheet.
It's getting too big,
Because and this isn't me anymore. I've like long since sort of just watched it balloon out of control. But so it's on an Excel spreadsheet. You get so many points per event, and then you get an overall total, and you can get ranked among the crew, right? But if you want to beat someone ahead of you, you got to pick the event that you could do better on,
right?
In regards to the crew, and then you get more points. And
I love that. I wish we had that because that's an amazing system to keep everybody motivated, to keep everyone from getting bored, right? Like, if it's
slow at all, that stuff just picks up, and and then we do a lot of fitness just as a 20-person crew when we get a chance, and the guys that like the workouts they get are really good. Like we have guys that. One guy was a captain of the farm team for Anaheim.
Oh, okay.
another guy played lacrosse, like
Yeah.
U of A
Fit
cross
people.
country. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they have really good workouts. So
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
and just destroy like
Nowadays, there's so much diversity in like
Yeah,
working out, right?
yeah.
That you can do a million different things and they'll all kill you. You'll
Yeah,
taste
and
the blood in your mouth every time.
everyone's trying to outdo each other for hard workouts, and
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely can't get enough of that kind of stuff. Just
Yeah.
like the competition side of that. But
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
good way for team building too, and just like
it carries over to everything.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We have this, it's a 10K run, but it's not like we have to do a time trial on it, but it's not on the road. It's like a hilly,
Oh yeah.
windy trail run.
Yeah.
But the last 200 meters you come out and it's a 200 meters straightaway, slightly uphill to the finish line. And it's like catastrophic at that finish line because everybody's racing, right? And then you have to do it in under 50 minutes.
Yep.
So, you know, the first group's racing just because they like to race. And then you get to the people that are right on that 50-minute mark. And everyone's just lined up along the, screaming at everyone, people running in, throwing up and passing it. We're not even not passing it, but like
Yeah. That's a good
collapsing.
pace,
And yeah, especially because it's
in the hills.
yeah,
It's not running on the sidewalk.
no, I think it'd be
Yeah.
a lot easier on a road for sure.
Yeah. Well, I
But,
think about I did I was in the Alberta Winter Games for snowshoeing, and that's not an achievement because I think I was the only one in my age group to apply. And I don't even think I technically made the time trial, but they were like, "You're the only one, you can go."
Yeah, great.
And it was like, yeah, we did 10K in snowshoes, and it took us
Oh.
like an hour and 5 or an hour and 10. But then the Alaska group that was there, who was like, they're track and field savvy, right? Like that's all they
okay.
do.
So
They're up at
runners.
6 a.m. and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
running and stuff. And me and my buddy are getting waffles and waking up at 11. But they did like 45 minutes. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
Jesus. But yeah,
That's
so
a
50
fast
minutes
one.
it's a fast 10 for sure in a hilly area for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we figured it's maybe you'd be 3 to 5 minutes faster on a road than that
Oh yeah.
route. But I mean, all that carries back over. Like I noticed, like on the Fireline, like you said with the team aspect, like once you work out so hard you throw up together, there's like a bond. I don't know.
Oh, totally, yeah. But once I always described it as, it's like we were talking about the suffering, right? Like if you go through something
And you can
traumatic,
laugh about it, yeah.
or like maybe not even
Yeah.
traumatic is maybe an extreme word for it, but something where you suffered together in one way or another,
Yeah.
you're definitely gonna have a bond, right?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
exactly.
you hear it from people coming back from like Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff like
Yeah.
that, where they're not. It's not that they want to leave. It's that, I mean, I have no idea, but from what I've heard described, it's not that they want to leave. It's that they've never felt such a close connection with those people, and that's a hyper tuned
Yeah, that would
version of
be
that.
way worse than what
right?
we're doing.
People are-
But yeah, a
but
minor
it's
version of
a minor version of it
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But and then there's other things like on the Fireline, you know, we're laying hose up a hill and, you know, you're sending people back, more hose. Everyone's running to the bottom and bringing up. Like it never crosses my mind that they might need a rest or,
Yeah.
you know, that someone's getting tired because it's not an issue,
Yeah.
you know?
Everyone's
So-
responsible for their own water and they know when they need to rest. Or if
Yeah.
you're getting
And they
whatever.
they don't like, geez, you got to sit on them and shove a sandwich down your, take a lunch break. You know, it's more the thing or, yeah. No, and even like daily, like, you know, you work a hard 16-hour day and then the next day, never, I think, they might be tired from yesterday because it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Whereas like I remember being in BC and one crew taking over for us, it was really hilly terrain and the crew leaders were trying to discuss, okay, how can we get our people up here and have them be able to work all day, and they're, you know, have to send them up in shifts and, you know, one day one group goes up, one day the next group. And, you know, there's a lot of thought goes into it. So, no.
And meanwhile, your crew's just ripping up and doing the work anyways.
Yeah, like it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Really. Like,
It's a cool way to do it. Like personally, in all the things I do, I like to be trying to be the best at it. I may not be the best at it, but I like to think that I'm at least pushing myself towards that end goal, right? So like I think that's a good way to bring about, like we were saying earlier, like fulfillment and happiness and just kind of general contentness with your lifestyle, right? If you're just like, you know, you're always pushing yourself to the limit. It's just like a cool way to live. I like it.
And you have, people around you, you're competing against them, but I feel it's mostly good natured. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's like everything. Like, you know, you're rolling up your hose, you're rolling some melons at the end of the day. And if I sit down beside someone who's just starting and I'm just starting a melon,
Yeah.
you know, you don't say anything, but
Oh, yeah.
I know that they know that I know that it's on.
That's great.
Yeah. And you don't even say anything. Whoever's done first just ties it up and saunters away all cool or whatever. But
you get that ego boost.
yeah.
Bitch. I'm
Or
better.
you lose or you sort of skulk away.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It's nice when it evolves like that and it seems, you know, it's not causing fights or anything. It's all pretty good natured. So.
Yeah. Well, that comes with it, right? When you spend that much time with people, you just develop that. That's a cool way to do it, though. I hope more people listen to this and do something like that. Like it's just a cool way to build that, because you find a lot of people. I was never bored when I was on Man Up. Like you spend hours or days or sometimes weeks not fighting fire, but on 5-minute getaways, so you can't actually go do anything. You have to
amuse yourself. Yeah.
You have to amuse yourself or have a project close by or whatever. But I don't remember ever being bored. There's always something you can do, right? Whether it's working out or cut the grass or build a bench or whatever, right?
Well, we're kind of lucky. We don't get on Man Up a whole lot, so we're never
right. Yeah, you're just right on fires.
For the most part. Like every once in a while, we're sort of stuck in one place, but that's kind of what I like, because the hardest part about Hell Attack is the waiting. I think. Yeah, I think everyone finds that. So luckily with the unit crew, we're not doing this as much as that. But
that's awesome. I feel like I missed out then. I should have been on a unit crew.
Yeah.
It's a cool little unit for sure. Well, that's we're coming up on an hour already.
Oh, wow.
But what else did I have down here? Oh yeah. I don't know if you have any final thoughts or whatever, but I was just kind of thinking, if you could change anything in like say in Alberta, whether it's the way we fight fire or whatever, what would you change if you could change one thing?
Oh, it's a tough one. One thing I would say that you want your crews to be more self-reliant, where you're not depending on buckets and tankers and heavy equipment. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are all very good firefighting resources, but you want to get to the point where you can fight fire without them if you have to. Yeah. I think we should work on that.
And maybe for all the government districts out there, every district should have a Turcotte position. That's an inside joke, but if any of them are listening, they'll know what that means.
Yeah, why don't you get Turcotte on here?
I should get Turcotte on here.
He probably won't. He's probably like...
I was thinking I should try and get Turcotte and Ambrose on here together. Because I think I get Ambrose would be great. But for people that don't know, Mike Turcotte is just a guy. He's kind of...
He's been in fire longer than me, and he's leading a crew. So
he's leading a crew.
He's a couple years, I think, ahead of me.
Yeah, but he's also he's managed to make the whole district better. I think because he's allowed the Hell Attack, the seasonal people to communicate better with the office people, and there's just
he's
a good
go-between.
Yeah, he's the go-between. There's a good relationship there, and it's created a really nice situation. I think, and I think every district could use that cohesiveness, right? Yeah. It's just, I think that's important. Definitely.
Yeah, no, he does a good job with that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
all right.
Unless you have something finally you want to say, that's pretty much it.
Actually, you know what? I brought you something.
You brought me some. I brought you some. I got a bunch of water bottles, but.
Okay.
Actually, Harold gave me a prairie crocus with retardant on it. I'll show it to you afterwards.
That sounds better than when I...
But he's got it everywhere.
Okay, a little known fact about me is I like to knit.
Oh, nice.
I only knit toques, so
that's awesome.
I knit you a toque.
No, that's not. This is much better. I'll actually use this. The prairie crocus is just going to sit on my thing. That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. I love toques. Never be enough of them.
Right.
Thanks a lot. This is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.